All right. Hey, everybody. I want to jump on. I'm going to talk about marriage safeguards. Marriage safeguards for a minute. Our marriage safeguards, I'm actually in the middle of writing a book on about 12 safeguards for our marriage. And so I'm excited about this as I'm fleshing out the content and putting it together. And my wife and I have been married for going on 18 years. We still got a lot of, work to do, as all of us do in marriage, but a couple key things that I'm writing on. One of them I wanted to jump on and just talk about right here is in our thoughts and our words. So I'm going to talk about marriage safeguard. A safeguard is something that you do in advance to protect something, to keep it safe, to make sure it's not in harm's way. And one of the biggest safeguards, ways to protect our marriage, keep our relationships strong, our marriage healthy, is in our thoughts and in our words. And a lot of times it's our thoughts that lead to what we say, right? So how are we thinking about our spouse? What are the things you're saying about her or him? Right? What's the things you're saying about your husband? What are the things you're saying about your wife? What are the thoughts, first of all, that you're thinking towards them? The beauty of marriage is that we're so different. We're so unique. And I see my wife maybe jumping on here for a little bit. Hey, babe. She can, fact check anything I'm saying. But the beauty of marriage is that we are unique. We're different, right? You got strengths, I have strengths. In every marriage, there's going to be strengths and weaknesses. There's great kind of counterbalancing points that happen in marriage. And like many, therapists and psychologists have said, is that opposites attract. And then a great authors and marriage kind of psychologist, Les and Leslie Parrott, said opposites attract and then they attack. There's that ability to, that thing that we loved at the beginning is now something that we are frustrated with or we're attacking. And so in our thoughts, we can start maybe being agitated at the other. We can start getting frustrated with the other. We start thinking negatively about the other. And what happens is when I start thinking negatively about my wife, then I'm going to start speaking that way about her. I'm going to start acting that way towards her. So one of the ways that we safeguard our marriage is by thinking on the good things about our spouse. Okay? Now some of you might be like, okay, yeah, that's easy. Some of you might be like, man, this is going to be tough. I've got more complaints than I have good things. I'm telling you what, if you think about the good, even if it's a little good, in your spouse, you will see it grow. You will see it multiply. You will see it expand. It's only when we choose to just focus on the negative, just focus on those things that agitate us and irritate us, that all of a sudden that issue expands. Maybe you've heard that term, what you focus on expands. Well, the same thing is true when it comes to our marriage, our relationships, right? If I focus on the good in my wife is going to expand. If I focus on the negative will expand. As husband and wife, we have extreme power to be able to bring life or death out of our spouse. Our thoughts and our words are a safeguard to the longevity and the health of our marriage. Proverbs 18 says that the power of life and death are in our tongue, and a lot of us have heard that. But the second part of that verse, it says, and those who love it will eat its fruit, right? Those who love it. If you use the right words, you're going to eat good fruit, right? If you begin to change how you think, which is going to change how you speak to your spouse, you're going to start seeing a different kind of fruit coming out of your husband or wife. Maybe if right now you're like, man, I don't like what I'm eating. I don't like the fruit of our relationship. I don't like the fruit of how they speak to me. I don't like the fruit of how I'm being treated. I don't like the fruit of our relationship. Maybe that's where you're at. Well, if you don't like the fruit, then you can change it. That's the good news. You can change the fruit of your relationship by beginning to change how you think about your spouse and how you begin to speak to them. Change that vocabulary. Begin to declare life over them. Begin to declare hope over them. Begin to speak words of truth and life and hope and call out the good things. Now, some of you guys might be maybe like, man, I just got to be real, though. I always got to be real. I got to be realistic. I got to be honest. I've got to, all that kind of a thing. And that's true. There are times when we've got to speak truth, right? We've got to say what needs to be said. We've got to step in there and bring maybe a challenging word, an encouragement, or even a correction to our spouse where we're calling something out. And hey, that happens. That needs to happen. But in the big picture sense of the ongoing day-to-day life of our relationships, we need to think about what is the good that I see in my spouse, and I'm going to begin to speak about it. I'm going to begin to say it. I'm going to call it out, right? Whatever you celebrate, you get more of. You know what I mean? Whatever you reward, you get more of. Whatever you speak about is going to expand. It's going to increase. And a lot of times we get into that danger zone in relationships and in our marriage when all we're doing is thinking about what we're frustrated about. We're thinking about how they don't do this and how they don't handle that and how I wish they'd be better at this, or why don't they meet this need, or why don't they act like this, or why don't they stop this, right? And we get so focused on all the things we don't like about our spouse and all the things we're frustrated about, and that begins to overflow in how we talk. And when we do that, we are sowing seeds that are going to bear fruit in our marriages, and we are not going to like the fruit. We're not going to enjoy the fruit that we're eating. But if we begin to change our dialogue, right? If we begin to speak life over our wife or our husband, we begin to speak words of truth and grace and mercy and life, and we can focus on the things that we love, and we celebrate it, we talk about it, we elevate it, we high five it, we give gifts around it, we thank them for it, we build them up in that way. This is such a powerful reality. And here's one of the things I'll just add in addition to that, is that you want to say what you want to see. Don't just say what you see, okay? You know what? The reality is we're all in a growth process. We're all on a journey together, and even in marriage. But if all we ever do is say the negative that we see rather than speak the positive or the life or the strength that we want to see in marriage, we're going to miss out on it. If we just keep saying what we see, we're going to keep getting what we saw, right? But if I could say about my spouse what I want to see, what I'm believing for, what's really in them, right? And it's not a manipulative thing where I'm trying to control them to be what I want per se, but a lot of times it's about speaking what I believe they can be, what I see in them, what I want to see in them, right? And if I want to see something different in my wife, for that matter, this applies to our kids, it applies to our relationships, it applies to every part of our life, say what I want to see. Begin to prophesy, right? Begin to declare life over your husband or your wife. You know what I'm saying? This is such a simple but powerful tool in shifting, and it'll safeguard your marriage. It'll keep your marriage strong. When you want to speak death, speak life, right? When you're frustrated, speak life. When you don't see yet what you want to see, speak what you want to see. Man, I'm so thankful that you're so thoughtful. Maybe they're not, Man, I'm so thankful that you provide and that you're there for us. Okay, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe you wish they do more of it, but man, speak life over what you do see, right? Say what you want to see. Speak life, and we know that from kind of a physical standpoint. Our thoughts create our emotions, create feelings. And a lot of times we speak out of the overflow of the heart over the overflow of those feelings. So if we want to change what we say, if we're like, man, I'm just always so negative, it's so hard for me not to just kind of spew venom, so to speak, on my spouse. Well, you got to change what's overflowing out of your heart. And how do you change the emotions of your heart towards your spouse? Change how you think about them every day, man. If you're in a spot where you're so far gone, if you will, in the sense of frustration or agitation or anger towards each other, you need to really get serious about this and start writing out a list, right? Write a list of all the good things about your spouse, all the things you love, little things, big things, whatever it is. And if you're like, man, I can't think of anything now, write why you love them in the first place. Go back to the beginning. What was it that attracted you to her in the first place? What was it that you loved about him in the first place? Begin to write those down. Rehearse those things. Go back to the beginning. Go back to what you love and begin to think about it. And if every day and every night and lunchtime, if you need to, you pull out that list and you read all the things you love about your wife or love about your husband, man, that will change how you feel towards them. You might say, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. My marriage is too dead. There's no feelings anymore. It's too messed up, right? All of that kind of stuff. I'm telling you what, if you begin to change what you're thinking about, it will begin to change how you feel. You might go, man, we fell out of love. Well, guess what? Fall back in. How do you fall back in? You start thinking and magnifying and accentuating and accelerating all the good about your wife or about your husband, and watch how you begin to fall in love with them again. Watch how those feelings begin to stir back up again when you focus on the positive, when you focus on the good, when you focus on and elevate all the things that you love about your spouse. You want to safeguard your relationship. You want to set up, maybe you're not yet married, put this into practice now. Maybe you're already married. Maybe you're like, oh man, we just love each other. Everything's great. Awesome. Keep speaking life over each other. And maybe you've been married 15, 17, 18, going on 18 years like my wife and I. Keep focusing on the positive. Keep speaking life over each other. Maybe you've been married 30 years or 40 years. Come on, keep speaking life over each other. Watch how it transforms. Watch how it brings strength and life. Like Proverbs 18 says, right? The power of life and death, life to my marriage or death to my marriage, it's in the power of my voice. What am I speaking? Every time I speak, it's a seed that's going into the soil of my spouse and it's producing some type of fruit. Is that fruit I like or is that fruit I don't like? The good news is I can uproot that old fruit, that old tree, and I can begin to speak life, be a tree of life to my wife, right? I love my wife. She is so thoughtful. She's so intentional. I'm so thankful for Katie. I don't know that she's watching this right now, but if you do watch the playback, I love you. I'm so thankful. The way you're attentive to our girls, the way you're attentive to me, it means so much to me. The way you care about our home and setting the atmosphere means so much to me. The way that you love Jesus, the way you have stepped out in faith to follow the call of God, even when it wasn't comfortable, I love that. I'm so thankful for that in you. You're such a good friend. You are such an amazing wife. You're such an amazing mother. And I cannot say enough about how much I appreciate about you, Katie. You are the best of the best of the best. You are my better half. You are the best of me. And I'm so thankful for you. And I love you. I love you. I love you. Okay. Let's speak life. Come on, let's speak life. Come on, Terrence just jumped on. One of my buddies. Come on, coast to coast, SoCal. Let's speak life over our spouse, right? Life, 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 life. Build them up. Build them up. My pastor, Pastor Jurgen, says that our wife or our spouse is the product of us, right? Specifically to men, your wife is a product of your husbandry, right? Your wife is a product of your husbandry. That is both an encouraging and scary thought, right? All the things you love about your wife, yeah. All the things, whoa. Okay, take that on as well. But the same thing with wives, right? Your husband is a product of your words. Wives, husbands, your wife is a product of your words. Let's speak life over each other. Let's build each other up. Let's declare life and life to the full of our marriages. It will safeguard your life. It'll safeguard the future and health of your marriage. Amen. Amen. All right, you guys, have an amazing rest of your day. Bless you guys. Talk soon.